It's good afternoon now, apparently. And I was telling Stacy that she needs to call Allah and ask him for forgiveness because I'm supposed to be at the mosque right now. How are you guys? Great. So we have an interesting panel today. I have Suleiman, I think, is online. Is Suleiman online? Can we confirm? Suleiman Parry. I will not introduce them. I will introduce them. They will introduce themselves. Hi, Suleiman. Varun Parry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Varun? Is Varun here? Hi, Varun. Andrew Njoroge. Hi, Andrew. Hey, guys. And last but not least, Nancy Murithi. Nancy? As we wait for Nancy to come, I was just listening to my brother, and he was talking about culture eating strategy for lunch. Did you say lunch or breakfast?
For breakfast.
So it's basically not just breakfast. It's lunch, breakfast, dinner, and snacks in between. Now, when we are now starting to talk about cybersecurity, we are now coming home. We have listened to techies talk about bots, talk about all sorts of things. Now we are bringing it home to the human. And let me first ask my panelists to introduce themselves very quickly, and then we go straight into this conversation. Nancy, over to you.
Okay, hi everyone. Hi. My name is Nancy Murithi. I work as a cybersecurity consultant and coordinator for She Hacks Kenya programs and operations.
Thank you. Let's ask Suleiman to introduce himself first online before we forget him. Hey, Suleiman.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Suleiman Isa. I'm the IT Security Incident Response Manager for the Federal Inland Revenue Service of Nigeria. That's the equivalent of KRA, Kenya Revenue Authority for Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Pleasure to meet you, Suleiman. Parry.
Hi, everyone. My name is Varun, and I head the pre-sales operations for Sophos, East, West, and South Africa.
Thank you. Andrew?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrew Njoroge. I'm Managing Director, Protech Professional Technologies, a CyberOne company. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Now, guys, I recall a few years back, our brother who left us in the midst of COVID. If we all remember Dr. Fernando Wangila, may God rest his soul in eternal peace. He used to say something that I still remember up to today. And he would go something like, guys, just remember one thing about your passwords. Your passwords are like your underwear. You must change them regularly. This is cyber hygiene now we're talking about. Now, even before we start to have this conversation, how many of us, even the die-hard tech guys, how many of us actually change our passwords year on year? Very few. I can see very few. So, guys, change your underwear, please, every day. So, talking about that and thinking about cybersecurity from a human-centered perspective. Just going to Andrew, just give us a quick overview from your experience before even going to Q&As. with my audience, with our audience. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you think humans are responsible for their own security and are responsible for breaches?
Well, thank you. That's a very good question. Truth is, human beings are the strongest aspect of the organization if handled right, because our organizations are basically human-driven. That also makes human beings the largest attack surface. When you think in terms of some of the vulnerabilities that we face, they may come from human error and so forth. So human beings really are responsible. But if I may answer you even deeper, when we talk about responsibility, sometimes it's very easy to just keep it to those who are concerned with technology on a day-to-day. But the real responsibility that we need to address when it comes to the human aspect is the place of leaders in organizations. And the reason I'm saying this is because of the cultural aspect. It's the culture that we inject into an organization as leaders that will determine the responsibility, accountability, and approaches that we eventually have in the organizations in regards to cybersecurity and every other aspect.
Thank you so much. Barry?
Yeah, I agree with what Andrew said. In fact, it's the responsibility of everybody in the organization. If you look at any statistics, anything, anywhere, right, you'll find out that the end user has been the weakest link in the organization, right? You get the best of the breed resources, you get the best of the breed solutions, but there is no protection to that end user clicking on that spam email or a spoofed email, or a new employee coming into organization and getting a call saying, hey, can you reset the password for me? I'm calling from the CEO desk, right? And you have not verified that. So creating that culture is really important.
Thank you so much. Nancy, I'll come to you, but I don't want to forget Suleiman. Suleiman, any thoughts from your side?
Okay, from my own end, according to a 2020 survey by Professor Hancock, 88% of cyber breaches occur due to human error. Then when you look at responsibility for ensuring cybersecurity or information security in general, it's 80-20 for me, 80% based on responsibility for humans, then just 20% for technology. Unfortunately, most organizations focus on investing on technology and forgetting their staff, or focusing on top-level management and forgetting those at the bottom.
Thank you, Suleiman. Nancy?
Yes.
I think I'll just add to everything that they have said. I'll add to what Isa has said, that when it comes to security, I feel most organizations invest in the technology aspect, forgetting that humans are actually the weakest link in an organization. When you're talking about security culture, culture is basically human-centered. We are not looking at the devices, the machines, the technology solutions you have in an organization. When talking about culture, how to foster culture, we're actually looking at the human aspect. Yeah.
Thank you, Nancy. So, guys, I want to give you a scenario. Us up here and everybody in the room today. I was listening to Bright and my brother in front here talk today about all the gizmos and the thinking around cybersecurity and all that. And then I was just wondering and asking myself, all the data we are spewing out every minute about ourselves, about our families on social media. I always like to give this example. On social media, for example, on Facebook, there's this term that the young people love to use. Relationship, it's complicated. So, and then you go on to give all sorts of information. So that's social media. Then physical now. As you walk into any building today, what do they ask you for? Number one, your ID. Number two, your phone number. Number 3, the company you work for. Those are at least the 3 key things they ask you for, isn't it? Now, for any hacker, that they'll tell you that is like serving them data biryani. Yeah? Because that is the essence of social engineering, to hack into your personal systems, your company systems, and all sorts of things. Now, we've taken care of all these parts, the tech stuff. How are we going to take care of these things? And by the way, when we asked about this information that we are supposed to give every time we walk into a building, do you know that that's a requirement in law? Are you aware of that? That's actually a requirement in law, the security, wherever. So when we are talking about these issues, and everything is converging together to create a situation where we become more and more vulnerable today. As a cybersecurity expert, as an IT security expert, as an individual, how are we dealing with this situation? And by the way, I would love to have this conversation with you guys and with anyone who wants to chime in in the audience. How do we deal with this situation? Anyone wants to go first?
Yeah, I can go first.
Please do.
So, you're very right when you mentioned about Facebook, right? And I think it's just people learning from people, but then it's not the right stuff, it's the wrong stuff, right? I mean, we're not like that in real life. Like, how many of us walk up with photos on the street and, expect everybody to look at our photo and hit a like button, right?
So we are social animals.
Yeah. But we're not like that in real life. But we tend to be that different personality over Facebook for some reason, We tend to post a lot of updates, right? And you're very right when you mentioned about the hackers, it's like you're serving them the information. And it's not just that, not just the email, but you're also serving them information like, hey, I'm checking out. Means there's nobody back at my house. Right, so I think that what we want to share is under our control with the best security systems in place, but you still need to have a word with the users and somehow develop that kind of an environment where you're not trying to find their faults, but you're also trying to educate them, saying, look, it's okay, you did this, but maybe next time we shouldn't do this, or this can be done in a better way, and that has to be documented. That has to be somewhere, has to be in a process. Right? Like at Sophos, we have a really nice training solution called Phishing Protection, Fish Threat, where we send customized spam.
Did you say phishing?
Yeah, phishing emails. So we send the phishing emails.
In the Indian Ocean or what?
No, it's the phished emails, right? Like, when you're on Facebook,
I see what you mean.
and I can very well relate. If you're on Facebook, if I send you a friend request with a nice, maybe a lady, on the profile picture, the chances are you'll click on the button, right? And that's what we want to educate the users on. My colleagues here can help you start a trial, right? And just go through it. There's thousands of templates. Educate your users. It's the need of the hour, right? With the best of breed solutions, but if the user doesn't follow the best practices, we always end up in trouble.
Thank you so much, Pari.
If I may.
Please proceed.
I will bring it back to the cultural aspect again. And culture is about values, values and beliefs and norms. And I'll just pick out two values that are really important when it comes to this. And these are trust and privacy. And in the simplest of trust and privacy. And in the simplest of definitions, the aspect of trust is about, do you have my best interests at heart? And when it comes to privacy, it's simply, can I be let alone? So as we're doing some of these things where you find they do have a legal basis behind them, the organization needs to clearly communicate that even as we're collecting these things, even as we are engaging with your data in this respect, we're doing this with your best interests at heart.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about trust is this. We have a certain misconception that trust is earned. Actually, trust is not earned.
Trust is not earned?
No. Trust
that's
is
new?
No. Trust is given.
Trust is given.
Trust is given.
Okay.
Mistrust is earned.
Interesting.
So it's very easy for me to give you trust, but where the challenge comes in is that the burden is on you to earn my mistrust. And that's what happens, because if we take too much time trying to earn people's trust, the time difference between you earning the trust and the opportunities at hand, that's gone. And the speed of trust is what increases the speed of transaction.
I like that.
The next thing is now on privacy. The right to be left alone. Note, it's not the need to be let alone, it's a right. This is a human right that we have for our privacy to be respected.
This is de facto.
So just, yeah, these are discussion for later, but when it comes to privacy, it's something that we must demonstrate that we have your interest at heart, so the trust element, and even as we're interacting with this data, we shall respect your right to privacy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We're running out of time. We only have 10 minutes. There are questions from the audience. And I think those questions, Fortnite is going to give some gifts for questions, which doesn't mean that all of you need to stand up and start asking questions. Sorry, guys. So, who has a question? Please come forward and your name, your organization, and if you need anyone among my panelists to answer that question, please mention their names, or if it's just a general question, please proceed.
Okay, Monica Kundu, the Boma Project, a non-profit. So I think this topic is very interesting to me because I find we talk about culture, we talk about the end user, but I don't find a lot of talk around simplifying IT or solutions for the end user. Security mostly impacts the end user, and I see us saying, oh, there's a policy, but does everybody have capacity to understand that policy? When we give like when we look at TikTok, we look at the era of working from home, where everybody was going for Zoom. Zoom was very insecure, but you could not get users out of it because it was the simplest. So when I look at all the presentations around innovation, how are we innovating to make security simple to the end user? That we have end users speak about what they know. So I'll just speak about an approach we took, because we're not as complex as others in terms of the security maturity, but we took the approach of training, whereby we got, I think, online training. But what that did is everybody became proud that they know about phishing, that they know about detecting this. So it's the end user who's telling us, and they're even proud to report that I found this. And the people we work with, or some of our team members, are not very tech savvy. And so one thing that interests me, or discussion that interests me, how does innovation simplify security? Because
for the end user. For the end user.
When I know about phishing,
I think that's a very good question.
Because these users risk security not only at work, but while at home. They access email, they go to a hotel, use free Wi-Fi.
That's true.
So I'm
Thank you
curious
so much for your question. Was there any other question, or was that it? So I think, honestly, I think that's a very, very important question. And I believe most of us in the technology space take this for granted, and we forget actually the end user. More often than not, we are creating products for ourselves and forgetting the actual end user. I mean, I think Zoom is probably the best example of this. I mean, there's even a new term that was created during when we were deep in the midst of COVID. Zoom bombing. Do you guys remember that term, Zoom bombing, and do we know what that means? Very simple, dude, if you're not talking, mute your mic. Some of the most common things that we now remember on online meetings is your mic is on. Switch off your video. Stuff like that. So how do we handle these kind of things? Innovation towards making cybersecurity, personal security in IT matters as simple as possible. Let me ask my brother Suleiman online to take that. And then we've
Okay,
run out of time, so I'll take one more question, and then we'll wrap it up. CIO Bana, can you just
Okay.
make these conversations longer?
Okay, so let me go ahead and answer that.
Yes.
Making security simple or making technology simple, because there are two sides to that question. When you are making technology simple, it has to do with the developer. Making security simple has to do with the security architecture passed on to the developer. For example, people have issues remembering passwords, so through multi-factor authentication, easier ways of setting your passwords and resetting your passwords come to play. But you have to also consider we have users that are above 70, above 80, depending on the organization. So where your teaching now comes to play, teach them passphrases and code. So it all boils down to particular individual organizational culture. And that's one issue we're having. Most organizations tend to procure technology without thinking of what their staff are used to or what is happening, the type of people they have as their staff. In some organizations, you don't even need this technology. Like you were talking about security checks, presenting ID cards and co. Some organizations will just need maybe a book, pen and paper, instead of procuring technology for that, because their staff are not yet fully matured to handle that technology. If you say you are implementing a visitors management solution and all that. So issue of making technology simple is back to the organization. If your organization has to take an audit of your staff maturity level, then look for solutions that are simpler. Like still using the example of Zoom, if my organization has been using Microsoft Teams or right from the days of Link and Skype for Business, then because everybody was using Zoom during lockdown, I now force my staff to use Zoom. I'm going to have an issue, and that can lead to security breaches because they are not used to that solution.
Thank you, Simon.
The organization is already on. Yes.
Thank you. Appreciated that. Now, I wish we had more time, but there was a question on the platform. When does VPN fail you? When does VPN fail you, or what do you do when VPN fail you? Okay, so let's just take that question as is. When does VPN fail you? Who wants to take that question? Nancy? When does VPN fail you? I'm just wondering whether I'm getting that question right. From that question, could you just display it again, please? When does VPN fail you? From Michael Miche. I think Michael is giving us a riddle here. Where is Michael? When does VPN fail you? Okay, anyway, guys, when does VPN fail you? Who wants to take that?
Well, I think the VPN is going to fail you in cases where people are working from home, right? And you have some outage. I mean, we've all seen, we've not been to the offices for so long, and somebody has to go to the office if the device is not being able to manage properly, right? In that case, everything is down because you have some of the resources which are only in the office. So I think what Michael is trying to say here is organizations should also be looking at adopting a cloud first strategy and not depending on a single place. Because you see, pre-COVID, everything was at the office, right? And the users were at the center. Now users are everywhere and the data's come in the center.
So it's an issue of resources mostly.
Absolutely.
Being unable to anticipate the resource requirement.
Absolutely.
Nancy, do you want to say something on that?
I actually had something to add on
Yes,
the
please
question
proceed.
that was previously asked.
To add on to the question or to answer the question?
Answer the question to what Isa had said.
All right.
I'll say on the question of products, making it easier, the security bit for the end user. For one, I think that goes two ways because as an organization, when you're creating the solution, you have to consider the security aspect because, again, that's why we have a field DevSecOps, whereby we have incorporated security in the development cycle. And also, I feel we can also plenty of awareness has to be there, because most of people who get phished or hacked, even these people who give out their details on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, they are not aware. Actually, that's a security risk.
Thank you, Nancy. So as we wrap up, time is up. So let me just try and sort of put some of the key takeaways here today. Number one, Andrew tells us trust is given. It's not earned. That's an interesting way, and I think the KGB will probably disagree with you, because they would always say trust but verify. Trust but verify. But Andrew is a very trusting guy, so he says trust is given. Privacy. And by the way, guys, you have 6 months to ensure that your data privacy conversations in your organization are up to speed. Ama, Sirkali will come for you. The other one is basically training. Just make things as easy as possible. Let's develop stuff, not necessarily for us, but for our end users. Guys, I want to thank you very much for coming and spending time with us up here. And now I want to hand it over to the chief moderator.